Welcome to the Burrow. It's your host, Lala Bunny, head trader at Bimbo Training Academy. And the topic of today's video is living below the poverty line. Now, personally, I've been living below the poverty line for 5 years, and it's been rough. So, first, let's define the poverty line. So, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, called HHS. So, according to the HHS poverty guidelines for 2024, the federal poverty level, FPL, for a single person is $15,060. So, single person means they're not married and they don't have children. Or this comes out to $1,255 monthly. This is an increase from $14,580 in 2023. So with inflation rising, the cost of living rising, the poverty level will also rise. So let's go back to 2021. In 2021, I was earning $56,000. I was a special education teacher in California, actually in Compton, California. And that's the last time I had full-time employment. And of that $56,000 after taxes, most of it went to rent. My rent at the time was $1,600 plus utilities. Um, it came out to almost $1,800. That was for a one bedroom in Long Beach, California. So on the teacher salary, I was a first year teacher, so the salary would go up if you did stay over time. As a teacher full time, I had health benefits, but I felt like I could never use them because I could never take a day off to go to the doctor or dentist. I was working a lot of hours and it didn't feel like I could get ahead because I was so stressed from work. I was spending money on my own classroom equipment, and supplies and things, and it was really hard. So, given I did rent a room before that for $800 a month. Um, but trying to be a working professional and have my own place, it was really difficult. And I was trying to finish graduate school at the same time, and I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have a romantic partner, I didn't have family helping, so it was really difficult. So that was the last time I had full time employment. Now in 2021, I left my job and I thought I could make it work with gig work. So I started doing deliveries and dog walking, but it just didn't add up. I couldn't even make my rent. So in 2022, I was facing eviction and I also had a traumatic experience in my life, and I was just able to work less and less, and I had to leave and drive cross country and come back home to New Jersey. In 2023, I've just been recovering and researching. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong because I did everything correct. Like I did well in school. In high school, I did clubs, I did sports, I had a high GPA, I took AP classes, I got into college, I was able to graduate college in 4 years. Um, but when I came out, I had tons of student loans, and I chose a job called AmeriCorps, which paid $11,000 a year. Um, so I started out under the poverty line just with my first job full time. And I did that for 2 years. Then I did after school programs and I did substitute teaching. And none of those quite added up. So then I was like, okay, I need a full time job with benefits. So I worked at a foster home and I got full time job with benefits, but they only paid $30,000. So I was working, and I think the hours were more like 64 hours a week. So more than 40 because you would sleep overnight at the foster home. So we were able to accumulate the hours. Um, but I was still going in for like, I think 4 days out of the week because we had team meetings. So I was able to get all those hours. But so, okay, so I had a job for 30. I thought you just need a full-time job with benefits. And I remember taking my first vacation in the January of when I had been there for I think over a year. I got my 2 weeks vacation. I went on a cruise. It was wonderful. I came back and I was like, oh, that's all the vacation time I can use for the whole rest of the year. And if I get sick or whatever, I had to actually dip into like I had to actually use time that I didn't even have. So I was like, how does this make sense? Like you only get 2 weeks off, you can never get sick. I mean, it was tough. So then I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I want to work with kids. If I really want to get paid, I have to get a master's in special education or I have to become a teacher, get certified, and that's how I'm gonna get a higher salary and be able to live. Oh no, it knocked the cat off my head. There it is. So basically, I tried to get my master's in special education, and graduate school was so expensive. Cost of living has gone up. It was really hard to be out on my own to do school and work at the same time. And I burnt out and I stopped working. So now, uh, I guess we're back into, yeah, 2023. So I just had to recover from all that. And I had to research and get serious about money. Luckily, at this time, I was like, okay, how come when I had that money, I wasn't able to buy a house? I wasn't able to get ahead. I didn't have any investments. What was going on there, you know? So I've just made it my point to research and get serious about money in the stock market. And now I've been able to save up $2,000 in the stock market, which before when I was making all that money, I couldn't. I didn't save it, but now that I'm below the poverty level, I was still able to save, which is pretty impressive. Because in terms of the percentage of my income that I was able to save. So in 2024 is when I started, I finally built my account up and I found like professional organizing. So I have a friend who I was helping her with garage sales, house sales, or cleaning out people's like garages. I would do landscaping, like mowing lawns, little side hustles. So I tried to master this whole side hustle gig thing, and I do Instacart deliveries, and I made a whole video on my side hustle, all the jobs I've had in my life. I've had over like 30 jobs by age 38. Um, I do a bunch of side hustles, and what was working in terms of that? Yeah, just trying to figure it out. Just trying to figure it out. Again, the side hustles have never added up to like what my full-time salary. I've never been able to like get those side hustles to add up to what a full-time salary was. Now, entering 2025, I've actually built myself 5 income streams. So I have YouTube where I'm not monetized yet. I have a merch page where I designed t-shirts, things that have to do with the stock market and trading. We've got journals, mugs, duffel bag, tons of items. It's hosted by Bonfire. I've done a bunch of videos about it. Check my shorts. Um, but yeah, if you want to support me at all to help me get out of poverty, that would be the way until I get monetized on YouTube. So I've got my YouTube, I've got my merch. I'm offering coaching for trading. The thing with that is that I know that's not going to come till later once I've established myself more as a trader. If you are just starting out and you need someone to talk to, or if you're frustrated, then yes, I'm available for coaching. I have other videos about that. Um, but I do recognize that it's going to take a while till people will respect me enough to treat me as a coach for trading, to look to me for that type of guidance. So that's something I'm developing. Um, and then I've got the actual trading stocks, which I am earning dividends, but it's like a penny at a time. So my goal is to actually, whatever money I make through deliveries, through side hustles, to funnel that into my trading, to build my trading account up, and then eventually for that to be self-sufficient, that I can live off of my trading income. And the last one is I have an adult entertainment page. So if that interests you, you can find the information. Go to my Twitter. You'll find the links on my Instagram. You find my links. And my name on social media is Lala underscore bunny 33. And I have that across all my pages. So you can go ahead and find that information out. So I'm just trying to build up income. I'm trying to get out of poverty. And I made this video because when people see me, they might not know that I'm struggling to the degree that I am. Um, Before someone calls me a mooch for not working, I worked for 20 years and I paid into all these programs. So if I ever did collect like food stamps or go to a food bank, I've actually volunteered at a food bank before. And then if I ever become wealthy, I'll donate to a food bank. So I just think there's an ebb and flow and a give and take there where like sometimes in your life you might be in a position where you can help others, sometimes you need help. And I'm not ashamed of that. But the real reason I made this video to bring awareness, I've also made a video on NEETs, not in entertain, sorry, not in employment, education, or training. So there are a lot of youth out there who are not working, and I believe it's a problem with our society that we have to rethink jobs. We have to cater the jobs to the people instead of the people to the job. We have to have flexible scheduling for people who want to work remotely, what if people only want to come in a few days a week? What if that's all they can handle? What if they have a disability? What if they get tired? Like, seriously, like, I know what people are going to say, suck it up. Well, I've literally had like times where like I can only work a few days out of the week and then I have to recover from those days that I worked. And it might be because I have an autoimmune disease. I basically am in a category that is like too disabled to work, but not disabled enough to collect disability. And I think there's a lot of people out there struggling with that, where they're like, something's probably wrong with me, but I can't even slow down enough or have healthcare or be able to figure out what it is. So I'm just going to push through and white knuckle it. But that's something I did for the first 30 something years of my life. And now is the time for me to go slow and build a foundation brick by brick. And again, I'm trying to get out of poverty. Um, so yeah, this is a difficult conversation. I'm on Reddit a lot. There's something called Poverty Finance. There's also Poverty Fire. I'm really was glad to find these communities because again, poverty is something we're all embarrassed of. Like you're poor. But I think if we embrace it, we can be smart with it and figure out how to yeah, the goal is to get out of it, but you also have to figure out how to live with it while you're there. So if you are below the poverty line, I mean, there's nothing you can do by tomorrow to get yourself out of it. It might take years to get yourself out of it. So, and now if you don't have a car to get to work, if you don't have a phone that works, if you don't have access to a shower, if you don't have access to certain things, it's going to be a lot harder to just pull yourself up by the bootstraps when your bootstraps are either broken or non existent. So, people need a lot of support. Our society does not have a strong enough social safety net. Um, yeah, so honestly, how have I been living in poverty? The answer is like you just go without. Things that you thought you needed before you realize like you can just live without and I'm still alive. Like you can survive, but it's tough. And part of the my next step is homesteading because I believe that's the best way for me to live in poverty but have the highest quality of life possible. So if I own land and I have a dwelling, like a safe shelter, I have a dog also. So I just want me and my dog to be safe on a piece of land. And I need internet. So I do need utilities, maybe something like Starlink. So I definitely like I don't know how expensive a solar, getting solar power is going to be, but I do think it's the best thing probably long term. You can collect rainwater, but you got to it takes money up front to put in this infrastructure. So if I could tomorrow I'd move to a cabin in the woods, but I can't. Um I also don't want to move to a situation where my stuff gets moldy or like if if it's a cabin in the woods it's not insulated and there's animal droppings and stuff like so I can't just live so like kind of like there's something called bushcraft where you like can build dwellings out of like wood usually it's lumber but you can like build your own house and I think that's great but like you won't be able to do laundry. You'll have to like wash it by hand and hang it up. Like you might not have electricity. It's tough. So I'm trying to find a balance between modern living that I'm comfortable with, but also like kind of roughing it because I don't need that much to survive. So a solution I've come to is just like buying a house that's like in such a rural area that the house costs under 100 grand. So I'm gonna try to find the right kind of job where I can get approved for a mortgage for something like that. My credit's not great right now, which is another reason why it's hard to get out of poverty. I actually I used to take out payday loans and things like that. That's how rough it was at the time, trying to keep up. Um, So yeah, I think buying a house that's under 100K, if you can find it, one that doesn't need super amounts of repairs, that's like the tricky part again. Like I've seen ones with like the ceiling falling apart and insulation. Like you don't want to deal with stuff that's health hazards. No one should have to live like that. So how do you get out of poverty? Where are you supposed to live while you're in poverty? Where are you supposed to live while you're working, while you're homeless? You're supposed to live out of your car. I guess joining a gym is good advice for that for people who are living out of their cars. Um, but it's really tricky. So I know what my next moves are. Again, I'm investing the little money that I have, trying to get myself up from this situation, trying to be smart and trying to build a good foundation. So when you can control your living expenses, that's like probably the number one thing to do is because you want to make sure the money coming in and the money coming out. You want to make sure you have more money coming in than coming out. So first you control your living expenses, then you can save and invest, and then you can build wealth from there. And then anytime you get excess money, you should try to funnel it into your investments. That's my advice for getting out of poverty. It's easier said than done. Any advice people give is easier said than done. Not everyone can handle a 40-hour a week job. And I've seen some statistics about how many hours it takes to afford a one bedroom apartment by yourself, or and maybe it was a two bedroom, because they're assuming because you might have a kid or something, but it's like 80 hours a week. And it's really not fair to ask people who are stressed out, struggling with poverty, um, to do that. That's to me, that's close to slave labor. At least it's something like indentured servitude, that you have to work so hard just to afford basic necessities. And when will you ever get ahead in life? And if you don't already own a home, how can you get one? Very tricky right now. The economy is very tricky right now. I believe we are in a recession, whether the economists say it's official or not. The inflationary economy is really difficult on people. The cost of food, that's, I'd say the number one way we can help people would be lowering the cost of food. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't mean this to be depressing. That's why I have a cat on my head to kind of lighten the mood. But it's real. This is real life. I hope you appreciate how candid I've been. I do care about appearances, but sometimes, like, there's no point in maintaining those appearances. I do hope I can get on the other side of this and that I'm able to give advice looking back. I haven't been in poverty my whole life. Um, there have been some years I've earned about like above $40,000. There's just a few years I earned above 40 or $50,000, but the rest of the time I was pretty much in poverty. Um, so yeah, I've never had a job that paid uh like six figures. Um, I don't need that though. So that's why I'm embracing lean fire, poverty fire, ways to live off of less. Go ahead, check out some of my videos. I made a video called 100 Ways to Save a Dollar. I made a video about FIRE, which is financially independent, retire early. I made a video on bulking on a budget, which is how to eat off of like, um, if you don't have a lot of money, but how can you still fill yourself up with enough calories? And I want to help other people out there who are struggling, and I want to talk about it. We don't have to remain invisible, and we are judged a lot. I mean, I spend a lot of time on the internet, so I know what people say. They say it's pathetic to earn minimum wage. They say it's like pathetic if you can't afford things, I guess. It's hard dealing with the judgment and the criticism and the self-criticism as you're trying to improve your life. And I want to motivate. I would love to be able to motivate you, but I don't have I think the hope is in our politicians. So Um, I want to talk about this. So there's actually a socialist candidate running for mayor of New York, which I'm super excited about. And also a Democrat named Ross Baraka. He's running for governor of New Jersey. And there's a party called Working Families Party. There's also the Party for Socialism and Liberation. So we by ourselves can't get ourselves out of this. We need policies that will help us. And in the past, when America was like, okay, there's if you've heard of the Green New Deal, there was something called the New Deal. Let me look it up. Basically, we need a Green New Deal to help America and help working people get out of poverty. Okay, so what was the New Deal? Um, Franklin D. Roosevelt, between 1933 and 1938, in response to the Great Depression, which has started in 1929, um, he basically, let's see kind of like what he did. He was trying to stabilize the economy. The first New Deal: relief for the unemployed and the poor, recovery of the economy back to normal levels, and reforms of the financial system to prevent a repeat depression. So I'm not going to get into it. I might get into it another time, but we need that now. And just stimulus checks alone are not going to solve the problem. Maybe universal basic income might help, and definitely raising the minimum wage will help. But the issue is that um, if we raise the minimum wage, but cost of living keeps going up, I mean, it can barely keep up. So we need to raise the minimum wage to a point where working families can afford food, housing, basics. Forgive student loans. That's a big one that I'm a proponent of. Um, Now, a lot of people say these are handouts. Well, not necessarily, because we do pay taxes. It's just a question of where our taxes are going. We would like our taxes to go back to help the people live a higher quality of life. And some of the programs that I'm the biggest fan of, which is like libraries, firefighters, national parks, all of those programs are not for profit. The post office, those are delivering services to people. Um, we are a very productive nation, and there's a lot of money in our economy and it's all going to the top. So it's time for the money to go to working people. And we need a bigger social safety net. There are benefits in other countries that we just don't get in America. So a lot of my personal debt came from education and medical expenses, like especially dental. Um, my biggest when I had credit card debt, a lot of it went also to car repairs. That was a big one. Um, but yeah, it's like people are trying their best or trying like they're told get an education, but then there's no support for them when they do try to get the education. And if we had free healthcare and free education, I mean, a lot of millennials and Gen Z would be doing a lot better than they are today. And we need to fix this somehow. We need to take care of our people. We need to fix this. And they are criminalizing people living in their cars. So I'm very concerned about this. So like if you're homeless and you're living in your car, you get a ticket. Now you can't pay the ticket. Now your license gets revoked, your registration gets revoked. Now they impound your car. That car has all your belongings in it. What are you supposed to do? We're not helping people. You know, the only way to solve homelessness is with homes. I've watched a ton of TED Talks on this topic, and the data is there. Anyone who's talking about solving homelessness who's not mentioning housing, they are barking up the wrong tree. The way to solve homelessness is to give people homes. They don't have to get jobs first in order to get the homes. You have to give them the home first, then maybe they can find a job. We have to work on people's hierarchy of needs. You can't have a fully actualized person self-development if your needs are not being met. Um, and we have a responsibility to each other to take care of each other. Also, it'll be better for the environment overall if we do take care of each other, because poverty is just not good. It's just a huge waste of resources. We want to get people housed and fed. Um, we want to give them health care because preventative care helps prevent people from becoming like a bigger drain on the system later when they're, and I don't like that term, but to put it in economic terms, like that will cost less over time. Like giving people health care now will cost society less over time. Giving them an education will cost society less over time. You want to have an educated populace. Giving people housing actually costs less over time. Also, when you compare housing to prison, it's like what society do you want to live in? That's why um people have said it's going to be socialism or barbarism. Barbarism meaning barbarian, meaning survival of the fittest, meaning, dog eat dog, cutthroat lifestyle. So even that term, survival of the fittest, it's actually really off base. Humans have survived by cooperating, and it's something we need to bring back. We need to bring back community, mutual aid, helping each other. So this video was initially about me and just my journey, but I mean, there's plenty of you out there who are also living below the poverty line and struggling. And I hear your stories and I want to help. Part of my mission is to build affordable housing. Of course, me who has no money, how am I going to build affordable housing? But the people who have the money, they're not trying to do that. And when they say affordable housing, I mean, something over $2,000 is not a month is not affordable. Something even over 1,500 a month is not affordable. I'm talking real affordable housing. What happened to when you can live off of $400 a month or $600 a month? Let's go back to that. So if anyone wants to support me, my project, my mission, I have a merch page. Go ahead, please order. You can also like and subscribe. Eventually, I will get monetized on YouTube and you'll be able to contribute. And I want to help veterans, homeless people, foster youth, survivors of domestic violence, and I want to rescue dogs as well, which is kind of ironic because I do have a cat on my head. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. We've got to band together. We got to help each other. If anyone wants to buy land, talk to me because I have a little bit of money I can put in. Maybe a bunch of us with $500 can buy some land together and make it happen. So I'm definitely looking in Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Those are the two states that I would consider purchasing land in. So if you're down, let's do it. All right. Happy trading. Bye.